I don't want anyone else to live like I lived for so many years. Seek out information. If you don't feel good, find out why. I feel better and more energetic than I did even in my mid-20s, like 10 years ago. Hi everyone, welcome to another video. Today I'm doing an impromptu change of plans for my filming schedule, and I am going to share with you guys about my diagnosis with Hashimoto's hypothyroidism almost a year ago, and then what I have done to try to help be as healthy as I can since then.
You look so beautiful, and I'm so lucky to be yours, and you're taking me high. Ain't nobody like you.
Okay, so I'm filming in our homeschool classroom, as you can see behind me, because it is after dinner time. River's actually in bed, the girls are playing downstairs, and it is just the quietest place to film. So that is why you see classroom stuff behind me. But I kind of want to start with a little bit of backstory. I had never really had any medical issues at all my whole life. I will be 36 this year in June, and other than like issues with weight and not being able to lose it, and kind of always struggling with that a little bit, not to an extreme extent, but definitely to an extent that it affected my life, I really hadn't had any health issues. Even through all of my pregnancies, I never had any diabetes or gestational diabetes, or I've never broken a bone, knock on wood, you know, anything. So I do have a history in my family of things like thyroid issues and heart issues and things like that. So I knew it was something that I would eventually possibly run into. So I had, for the longest time actually, had been dealing with several different things that should have given me a red flag to think of a thyroid issue, but I didn't really know that that's what I should have thought of before. So back in 2011, 2012-ish, I was diagnosed with depression, and I basically just sat on the couch all day long. Before we had kids, I just never wanted to even move. I never had any desire to do anything. I didn't even want to go hang out with people who I normally would enjoy hanging out with. If I did, I would always have fun, but then I would always just, everything in me was just, I wanted to just lay on the couch and do nothing and watch TV all day and only get up to do the things I had to do. And that was things like eat and go to the bathroom. Like, that wasn't things that needed to get done. It was just things I needed to do because I needed to survive still. And Anthony is the one who sought out a treatment center for me to be able to go. It was actually a clinical trial, and I enrolled in it and went through the whole process, and they do like full blood work and labs and stuff like that. And then you don't know whether you get put on the medication or the placebo, of course, but afterwards they follow you medically, obviously, very thoroughly throughout the process. But then after the trial is over, they give you a prescription for the medication that you should be on in order to help get through things. So I was put on that medication. I don't remember what it was called. It was so long ago. And I was on it for almost a year, I want to say. I only stopped because I ran out and I just didn't feel like going back to get it. I didn't want to be reliant on a pill for my whole life. But ever since that point, I've never fallen into that deep of a hole, I call it, since then. But I definitely still have struggles, moments, days, it could be longer than it could be a few days, where I'm just sad for no reason. Like, my life is great. I'm so thankful for our family and everything, and even through the years and times where we were maybe struggling a little more financially or whatever the case may be, I've always been generally happy with our life and the direction that it was going. And so there really was no reason for it, and it still hits me. I actually am kind of having a little bit of a down day today, which is kind of what sparked my thought to film this, because it still affects me very much so. And I really truly believe that there are so many people out there who are going around feeling this way, and there is something else causing it, and they just don't know that they're supposed to look for that. And so I'm hoping that by filming this video, I can share my story, of course, but that it inspires even just one of you to go advocate for yourself with your doctor or switch doctors if they're not working with you, and get full workups done. Learn as much as you can about autoimmune issues. In my case, it's specifically thyroid, because they are like silent. Like a lot of the time they go unnoticed. And I don't want anyone else to live like I lived for so many years in kind of a, like you're wading through water, like everything's echoey and it's just like nothing's super clear and there's no reason why on the outside, when I didn't really know I should probably look on the inside. So, after I got off that medication, like I said, I never had like periods where I sunk back in. It was just short little spurts where I would just be down for no reason. By the time I had kids, so I had to get up and function, so there was never any moment to just not do that for me. And I was more cognizant of it, so I was aware that this was an issue, but I thought that the depression was the issue. I didn't think that something else could be causing it. And so I went a lot of years without knowing that I could have been doing something different all along that would have helped tremendously. And so that's where this kind of comes in. About, I guess, almost 5 years ago now, my sister got married in April of 2017. And of course I was in the wedding and I wanted to look the best that I could, but I had 2 kids by then. Quinn was she was about a year and a half on the wedding day. So I was only probably a year out of having her from when I started trying to like eat healthier and exercise and all of that stuff and do what the right things are to get into shape. And I had really chalked it up to me being lazy and, obviously baby weight and all that stuff. I had kind of excused the fact that I was not losing weight. And I started a workout program called the 80-Day Obsession on Beachbody, and I religiously did that for the full 80 days. I did every single workout, and it is not an easy workout program. It is very tough. Like, there were several days where I was on the verge of getting sick because I was working myself so hard. I was eating healthy. I was eating tons of fruits and vegetables and proteins, and not like, packaged healthy foods, but like actual healthy, real, true foods. And I wasn't losing. I lost 3 pounds in 2.5 months doing all of that. And it was extremely frustrating. And honestly, inches weren't even that. I definitely lost inches, but it wasn't to the extent that I feel like I should have, going from no activity and not watching anything that I ate to having all of this activity that I'm doing and eating healthy and drinking more water and stuff all in one, and not really much happening. So I chalked it up to I'm getting older and it's harder to lose weight, just like a lot of people do. As you get older, you think that things are going to start to just go downhill. And of course, that's probably true for some people, and there's really no explanation for it, no really deep down reason for it. But especially in the world today, in America for sure, our diets are not good at all. A lot of people's diets are not good at all. It's full of processed foods. It's full of just junk, honestly. And even if you're not eating like chips and candy every day, it still can sneak in unknowingly. And that's, I think, what was happening to me. So that happened, and I went through the next few years again, just kind of doing the same old thing. And the whole C word hit in 2020, and it just got easy to get lazy because we're stuck inside anyways, and what's the point? And then I had River in June. I was pregnant at that time, obviously, so I had River in June of 2020. And then the baby weight again, and now I'm even older, so I'm thinking like this is not going to be easy for me to do. And I have always tried to like make the best choices I can, but I definitely did not eat what I would call a healthy diet. It was not a like fast food every day diet, but it was not healthy either. So now fast forward to the beginning of 2021. I don't remember exactly when, but it was within the first month and a half. River ended up in the hospital in February of that year, last year. But before that, a good friend of mine had introduced me to a book called The Thyroid Connection by Amy Meyer. And this friend has autoimmune issues as well, and she had been reading she has a couple different books. She had read the one before this, and then this one specifically dealing with how the thyroid comes into play, because all the symptoms that I had explained to her pointed to a possible issue with that. So I started reading that book, and it was such an eye-opener for me. And this is honestly like, seek out information. If you don't feel good, find out why. If you don't feel good, find experts on different things that could be causing it and research it and look into it more. Don't just accept what your doctor says as fact. Doctors, I respect immensely. Anything I say in this video, nothing is a dig on doctors in general at all. I just, in my personal experience, have learned that doctors who deal with, especially like, you know, like doctors in clinics who it's like one patient, it's like a churning kind of system. They either, one, don't have the time to be able to give each patient what they need, or two, they are dealing with somebody above their heads or insurance companies who won't allow them to do all of the testing that they would like to do, or three, they just don't know how these things, it's hard to say, because I don't want to sound like I'm saying they don't know what they're doing, because I don't believe that. But every part of our body works together, obviously. Everybody knows that. But I feel like when you go to the doctor, it's very disjointed. Like, there are specialists for this, there are specialists for that, there are specialists for this, and they're very good at what they do in those specialties. But I feel like because of that, the whole mix of like how everything works together as a puzzle can often get lost, and you get treated for a symptom that you're having because someone in that specialty deals with that and knows how to deal with the symptoms to make them more manageable, but you don't end up getting to the core, the foundation of why that's happening. So that is what honestly has happened for me. And if I hadn't read this book and started researching this and become more knowledgeable on how this all works, I would not have known to fight for myself. I would not have known to push for different tests that I'm still pushing for, which I'll get into that in a minute. And I wouldn't have known any of that. So what she suggests in this book is to follow an autoimmune protocol way of eating. And so I'm going to explain that a little bit too. But basically, going back to the beginning of February, or end of February, beginning of 2021, after I got out of the hospital with River, I was like, I am convinced I have a thyroid issue. After reading this book, it's so clear to me that that's what's going on. So I need to go get seen. I need to go get a full blood panel done. I want to get all of my tests done. I want to get my vitamin levels checked. I want to get every thyroid different test done that I could possibly do. I just wanted it all. I wanted a clear picture of where I'm starting to, on this journey of finding out what's going to be the thing that's going to make me the healthiest. So I go into the doctor, and it's not even my doctor. I haven't seen my actual doctor that I'm assigned to at all. I've seen their physician's assistant, 2 different physician's assistants of her. So that's also obviously frustrating, because they're not actually getting to know you personally. But anyways, I went in there, and he had asked what kinds of things I am being seen for, what are my issues that I'm having. And so I started listing off several things. I would get tingling in my hands and feet. I was always tired, overly tired. No matter how much sleep I got, it didn't matter. I was always fatigued. I was always dragging through the day. Always had to take a nap to get through the day. Days that I wasn't able to take a nap, it was real hard. And my temper, I'm not generally an angry person, but I was very short-tempered, and I would just get annoyed easily. I wasn't sleeping great even when I did sleep. I had very, very tough issues losing weight. Even when I would change things that I was doing, I wasn't losing weight, like I mentioned to you. And I just knew something felt off. I was feeling just blah, things that people just kind of associate with getting older, basically. But I knew it wasn't right. It didn't feel right. So what he said to me was, okay, so the way it's set up is that we can see each patient for 2 issues. So which 2 issues would you like us to focus on? And I just could not even believe it. I don't blame the doctors at all for this. I know it's a systemic thing, honestly, but it was so frustrating because I was like, all of these are connected. That's what I'm trying to tell you, is that I know all of these are connected, and I'm almost positive it's a thyroid issue and that it all goes together. It's not just, can you deal with my tingly hands and give me a medication that will help with that? Or can you deal with my fatigue and give me a medication that's going to help me sleep better at night? Like, that's where they were going. They were trying to treat these symptoms individually. Only in that appointment they were going to deal with 2 of them and then go from there. So I had to advocate for myself to get these blood tests done. They wouldn't even do them. So when I asked for this complete blood panel to be done, they said, well, we don't really do that. And I was like, well, what do you mean you don't do that? You're a doctor. You're supposed to be finding out what's wrong with me. And how are you supposed to do that if you don't have these diagnostic tests to figure out where the numbers are off? And so I think that was probably more of like an insurance thing. I don't know if, like, I think you have to have an actual, like, legit explanation for why you're doing each test that you're doing. Otherwise, maybe they won't pay. I don't know. That's all speculation, but that's what was told to me. And so I was like, well, I definitely feel like something's off with my thyroid. And so what they did, I have my tests here. But that first day they did a TTG antibody, a A1C to test for diabetes. They did a glucose one. They also did TSH and a free thyroxine one, and then also a full like cholesterol panel so that they could have a starting point. And I think that's kind of what they told me, just to hold me over, is that was going to be a starting point. We'll get into what happened next in just a second, but all of those numbers were in the range that they should be, except my TSH. My thyroid stimulating hormone, the normal range is 0.3 to 5.5, but the optimal range is less than 2, and mine was 23.8. So it was very high. I was not surprised to hear that at all. But that's another thing, is that these reference ranges, I've learned, are very outdated. So having a normal range number versus having a number that's optimal are 2 very different things. You could have a number in the normal range, but if you were to get it into optimal, you would be feeling 100% better. So also take those ranges with a grain of salt and research what's the actual optimal ranges for whatever test you're getting done. But anyways, I digress. So it was very high no matter what range you use on that one. So that was the first one we did. And then the frustrating thing that happened after that is that there was radio silence. Like, seriously, once I got my results, there was no phone call to like, hey, these were your results, we should probably get you in for this, or anything like that. The only thing that was done after that was that I was put on levothyroxine, which is a thyroid medication to help my thyroid function correctly. And then boom, they washed their hands of me. And they didn't even do an 1/8 of the tests that I had requested. And I requested them knowing that they needed to be done because they all related to thyroid issues. So there is a page in this book that has all of the tests that you should get done if you have a thyroid issue. So I do, obviously, that was proven, and what the optimal ranges for that is. And so I went in there again, which I had to call an advocate to be seen again for this. And I went in there again, saw a different physician's assistant than the last time, caught her up on what had happened and that I was frustrated, and said, you know, these are the tests that I feel need to be done, because now that we know that I have a thyroid issue, I need to know where my other ranges are so I can take supplements if I need to, not take some that I already have enough of, and I don't want to like overdose on something that I don't need because my body already has enough of it. And knowing whether it's an autoimmune issue, because when you have hypothyroidism, it can be just hypothyroidism, or it can be autoimmune, which is Hashimoto's or Graves' disease, depending on which direction it is. But I needed to know whether I had that, because it becomes a lot more important to watch what I eat and be careful about what I'm taking in, be careful about how hard I'm exercising. Like, there's so many things that become a lot more critical to focus on. Either way, I needed to change the way I was living. But if it was an autoimmune issue where my immune system is actually attacking my thyroid, then it's a little bit more serious. It's a little bit more like given a violent shove into serious at that point. And they weren't even going to do that test because, in their words, the treatment is the same regardless of whether it's Hashimoto's or not. And again, I was just so frustrated. I still am frustrated. I don't know if you can tell, because I still don't have this resolved. I still have not gotten all of the tests done that I need to. I'm almost at the point where I just want to like order them myself. Like, you can go online and order blood tests yourself and go get them done. It's more expensive, obviously, but I'm almost at that point because it's just so frustrating dealing with all the red tape. So I was able to get another set of blood work done, and they did, so this was after I had actually had a phone appointment with a dietitian, and the dietitian was definitely much more knowledgeable about this and how food works with your body, and was very much more a proponent for the things that I was asking to be tested for. She agreed that they were relevant, but she couldn't order actual tests. She had to go through the doctor. And the doctor, she informed me that I have, is usually a little bit stingy with doing tests. And so, which explained a lot. But she said the physician's assistant that I see, she would reach out to her and see if she would put some of these through. So I did get some more tests that I wanted, just not all of them. That was in March that I got them done initially. So now we're in June. We're in the middle of June when I got these tests done. So they did a complete blood count. Everything was normal. They did vitamin B12, which was normal. They did ferritin, which was a tiny bit high, like barely, but a tiny bit. And they did iron as well. So all of those were normal. Iron was on the lower end though, so she said it wouldn't hurt to take an iron supplement. And when I was in all my pregnancies, I was low on iron, so I expected that. And then the next month, I finally got the Anti-Tpo thyroid peroxidase test, which is, it measures the antibodies that your body is producing against that hormone to see if it's an autoimmune issue or not. I got a vitamin D test and a vitamin B12. So vitamin B12 was good, vitamin D was low, and my antibody test, the reference range for this is 0 to 6. So that is like the normal range, 0 to 6. Mine was 1,939. Insanely high. I could not believe, I thought it was an error, and so I actually had to like follow up and make sure it wasn't an error, because my jaw just dropped. I was completely shocked. So that verified that I have Hashimoto's, hypothyroidism, and I needed to take this seriously because this is definitely something that is it's attacking my thyroid. And in the book, kind of the way she explained it in a really like clear way. And basically what happens is your whole life you eat these foods that are given to us that are processed, have gluten in them, dairy, all of these different things, soy, that are usually not they don't work well in our bodies for the most part. Some people are not affected by them, but a lot of us are and don't even realize it because they affect us in these small ways that I mentioned were the symptoms I was having, the fatigue and the body pains and tingling, like things that we just brush off. And so we eat these our whole life, and like when we're younger, our immune system is like a sniper. It's able to pick apart the things that it doesn't want in it, and it's able to get rid of them and eliminate them efficiently, so we don't feel these symptoms when we're younger. But then as we get older, we keep eating the same things. Our body is getting tired at this point. Our immune system starts getting really tired and not able to function as efficiently. And so instead of a sniper, it just starts spraying bullets at the things that are coming into your body. Anything that resembles something that it doesn't want, it gets rid of it. And as a byproduct of that, things that you actually do need get knocked away too. And that's where thyroid comes in. So your thyroid produces hormones that are very similar in makeup to some of the things we ingest that our body doesn't want to eat. So want to have in it. And so it starts attacking your thyroid as well, because that hormone is being produced and your body is just like tired of fighting, and it's saying, okay, I'm just going to get rid of all of this, and then you start having all these issues. And so this is only one autoimmune condition out of many that could be happening to people, but I think it's a lot more common than we even realize. And I think that every single person should be able to be tested for things like this, and should advocate for themselves and educate themselves on this, because it's not just because you're getting older, for the most part. I'm not saying everybody. There are underlying things. We all know we should eat healthy. We all know we should exercise. We all know we should get enough sleep and drink enough water and all of that stuff, right? But when you get to the point where it's affecting things in such a small way, I mean like small in relation to like other things that could go wrong in your life, in your body, but like fatigue and tingling and stuff, things that are like easily dismissed, that's where it becomes really dangerous, because we do dismiss those things as I'm getting older. We say I'm getting older, so that's why these things are happening, and we don't try to look further into why it possibly could be happening. And so please comment down below if you have kind of had the same thing happen to you, whether it's Hashimoto's or something else, how long you went. Please share your stories down below, because honestly, I think this could help a lot of people. And reading through your comments, someone could maybe find something and read something that sounds a lot like what they're dealing with, and inspire them to go get checked out and to change their life potentially. So please share, and please share this video too, so that you can help us get the word out and help hopefully impact as many people as we can. So I did get my cholesterol checked and everything with that, and it was all normal. And then I got the thyroid stimulating hormone checked after I was on the medication, and it went down. That was the one that was 23.8, and the high reference range was 5.5, and it was down to 0.8 after I was on my medication for a month. So the medication was working. I was absolutely feeling better after being on that, and I don't know if I'll be on it my whole life. I need to, again, advocate for myself. I want to get my thyroid checked to make sure, like, to see how much of it is left, honestly, because if, you know, half my thyroid is gone, I'll probably be on this medication my whole life. But if through my diet and stuff, I might be able to, like, is it too late to reverse it or not, is the question. And so there's a lot that I still need to happen. I desperately want to find a functional medicine doctor who takes insurance. It's just so expensive without insurance, and I know it's worth it, but I feel like I'm knowledgeable enough about what I should advocate for myself, that if I can't find a functional medicine doctor who takes insurance, I feel like it's going to be a fight, and I just don't want to have to deal with that fight. I want to deal with somebody who is on board and of the same mindset that I am. But if I can't, then I'm just going to have to, you know, put on the boxing gloves and go to bat for myself and hope for the best and hope to get as many tests done as I can. Switching doctors is definitely something that is in my near future. It is one of my goals for January, and I need to make that happen because it's important. So that is my backstory, my diagnosis, and what I've gone through. Now I want to focus on the autoimmune protocol, and I'm going to try to make this short because I know I've been talking for like over 30 minutes at this point. So I'm going to do the best I can. I'm not going to go into detail about the book. I will link it. I highly recommend, like, honestly, anybody could benefit from this because it's just a healthy way of eating. But in short, the autoimmune protocol is an elimination diet where for a certain length of time, and for each person it's going to be different, and Amy Myers recommends minimum of 28 days, you eliminate all possible inflammatory foods from your diet. And this is where another kicker comes in. I had no idea how many foods could be inflammatory at all. Peanuts, nuts, nut butters, seeds, seed butters, any kind of spices that come from seeds, nightshade vegetables like tomatoes, peppers, potatoes, pepper, just the spice pepper, can contain mold in it, and so that becomes inflammatory for people. Eggs are super inflammatory. Obviously, dairy, gluten, soy, those are the big hitters and the ones that affect most people the most. But there are so many things. So I made myself a list based on her recommendations in her book, like what you should eat, what you shouldn't eat, and then like on the what you should eat section, I went through all of that and wrote down or typed out all of the things that I liked that were on that list. And then I went to the avoid section and wrote all the things I liked that were on the avoid list, so I could have my own little cheat sheet of avoid and enjoy. So I have been avoiding alcohol, fast foods, junk foods, processed foods, any artificial colors, flavors, preservatives, or any other food additives, any GMOs including canola oil and beet sugar, processed meats, canned meats, cold cuts, hot dogs, processed and refined oils, mayo, shortening, spreads, trans fats, any kind of stimulants like caffeine at all, chocolate, sweeteners like sugar, alcohols, all of that, sweetened juices with high fructose corn syrup and stevia, especially barbecue sauce, chocolate's a hard one for me, ketchup, paprika, red pepper flakes, soy sauce is definitely not good. Teriyaki sauce can have a lot of gluten in it, and soy, anything made from corn, any dairy including goat dairy, eggs, gluten we talked about, any of the gluten-free grains like quinoa, rice, beans, peas, and lentils, nightshades I talked about, nuts, seeds, and soy. So those are the things that I need to avoid, and there are more, but the other things that were in there are things I didn't like anyways, so it didn't really matter. I didn't have to write it down because I wasn't going to eat them anyways. So basically the things I have been eating are like clean sausage that doesn't have any of those like spices in it that I'm not supposed to have, or I make my own out of ground turkey and some seasonings. So that's good. Organic pasture-raised poultry, organic beef, but I'm not a fan of beef, so I really have been sticking to chicken, ground turkey, and like turkey burgers, turkey patties, like different forms using the chicken and ground turkey, because I'm just not a fan of red meat in general. But pork and bacon, so bacon is the one thing you have to be careful of because there's sugar in almost every single bacon that there is. If there's not sugar, there's pepper and other things that can cause inflammation. So I found one brand at Costco and one brand at Safeway, and Target has it too, that I can have that are clean, uncured, no sugar added bacons. So I enjoyed that. Pretty much every fruit you can have. Actually don't think there are any fruits you can't have. All of the veggies you can have except those nightshades. So tomatoes, potatoes, and peppers you can't have, but other than that, you are good. Any kind of what do they call it? Cruciferous vegetable, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, kale, sweet potatoes, you want to cook them before you eat them, but you can have them. And then the oils, I mainly use olive oil, extra virgin olive oil, but I do have avocado oil and coconut oil as well. And then for seasonings and spices like basil, bay leaf, cinnamon, cloves, dill, garlic, I use a lot of, and then you can use like sea salt. Turmeric is really good for you, coconut milk. So I use a lot of garlic powder, a lot of Himalayan sea salt. I found this AIP paleo powder at Walmart that's delicious on pretty much everything, and I make some good stuff with that, which leads me to, if you want to see a what I eat in a day on AIP, let me know, because that would be kind of a fun one to film. That it just like popped into my head. But basically, so when I got the diagnosis, I had read the book, or most of it at least, and so I started implementing those things as well, and I only went like 2.5 weeks of full 100% elimination diet compliant before I had a meal. I think it was on Mother's Day. I was like, I'm gonna have one meal and then I'll be back at it. And so from that point on, I was probably like 80-20, like 80% AIP, 20% not. There would be better days than others, but I wasn't super strict about it. But I definitely felt better when I was following what I should be following. But the point is that you're supposed to go for at least 28 days of full 100% compliant, and then you start slowly introducing things back in. So this is not a forever thing for a lot of people. There are some people who are so sensitive to things where keeping it to these bare bones basics is just kind of what you have to do. But the goal is to reintroduce things and get to a more paleo style of eating. And so January 1st, I made up my mind. Honestly, our wedding was December 18th, and I honestly wanted to be able to eat what our caterer was bringing to our wedding. And so that was the main reason I didn't go fully 100%, because I didn't want to go fully 100% and then eat something on my wedding and feel like crap on my wedding night, which is horrible. I was almost like tuning my body to eat something that wasn't going to be good for it, which sounds bad, but no regrets. It was delicious and it was amazing. we had lasagna. It was awesome. So no regrets, but I made up my mind that January 1st I was going to be going all in, and I have. I'm actually on day 28 right now, and tomorrow is going to be my first reintroduction, and I'm doing tomatoes. And I chose tomatoes because I can make my own homemade salsa. I can make my own ketchup. I haven't been able to have ketchup. I can make my own like pasta sauce. I've been trying different recipes with like beets and stuff like that, but it's just not the same. And so I just feel like it'll create a lot of things that I can make. So I'm really hopeful that it's successful. But basically, I will eat that, and then I will see how it makes my body feel over the next few days. If I don't feel any symptoms returning that I had before, then that food is safe to reintroduce and it becomes part of my diet. And then you introduce another thing, which the second thing is probably going to be cocoa for me, because there's a lot of AIP desserts like mug brownies and stuff that are pretty decent as is, but you use carob powder instead of cocoa. And I feel like if I just had the cocoa powder instead, it would just elevate it that much more and my sweet tooth would be satisfied, which for me, sweets, that's my downfall. And so I feel like if I have a good quick option for a dessert that can have cocoa in it instead of carob powder, that would help me a lot. And then my next one, it might be chia seeds, because there's an elimination compliant tortilla chip that's made by the brand Siete, and the only not compliant ingredient it has are chia seeds, and so that might be number 3. But that's kind of within the next couple weeks what my plan is for reintroductions, and I'll see how it goes. Hope for the best and hope that I don't have reactions to too many things. I really want to also reintroduce eggs, because I miss being able to have eggs even just a couple times a week for breakfast or something. So hopefully I'll be able to have at least part of the egg, because I know that egg whites and egg yolks can react differently in different people. So that is what I've been doing. That is my plan. The good thing, another good thing about it, is that I've lost like 30 pounds, just over 30 pounds since April of 2021. And I haven't exercised at all. So it's just my body getting rid of all the inflammation, and I feel so much better most of the time. I still have my down moments. Like I said, today has been a down day for me. But for the most part, I feel amazing. I feel better and more energetic than I did even in my mid-20s, like 10 years ago. And it's because I'm fueling my body with what I should be fueling it with. So for me, this is not about losing weight, although that's an amazing thing that has happened. It's about fueling my body with what I should put in it and not what I want to put in it necessarily, or finding ways to make things that I want to have, like pizza, for example, that are not going to be inflammatory for my body. So if this is you, if you are doing an elimination type of thing, or if you feel like you should start that, this AIP autoimmune protocol, I'm going to leave some links to the most reputable websites and really good like cookbook, like recipe blogs that usually the recipes are really good on. I'll also leave a link to this book so that you can look it up, and the one before it as well. Amy Myers is one of the well-known people in this AIP community, but the other one that's considered like the founder is Sarah Ballantyne, I think it's pronounced. And so I will link her stuff as well. The paleomom.com has great stuff. So there's a ton of resources, and I just encourage you to start researching, start getting knowledgeable about this. And it's like I said, it's not just thyroid, it's any autoimmune issue at all, which I think a lot of us are walking around with and don't even really realize it. So do yourself a favor, look into it, try changing your lifestyle a little bit if there's things like I have mentioned that are weighing you down, and don't chalk it up to just getting older anymore. Find out the root cause, the foundation of what could be causing it, so that you can be the best person that you can be for yourself, for your family, for your coworkers, for whoever you need to be that's in your life. So that is it for today's video. Make sure you leave a comment down below and say hi. Tell me your story. I would love to get to know you. But for now, remember to stay humble, be kind, and I will see you next time.
Jump into the car on a Friday night. I wanna drive with you. Looking for a bar in the